Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Dutchy Gaming and the second episode of the grind for a Mageblood. We left off in the last episode. I'd been farming some essences and betrayal. Essences paid off pretty well, betrayal not so much. I was left with about 17 to 18 divines worth of raw chaos. What I decided to do before picking my next strategy is just run a few more essence maps until I at least get a decent safe house reward. So I bought enough to do 5 more maps, got a ton of special essences, which was great, and then we also finally got a decent all flame to drop from Betrayal, which sold for 350 chaos. So overall, we're looking pretty decent. So we now have in the stash, with a few more bits to sell, we've got 5,000 chaos and then 342 in overflow. So at some point, I'll convert that over to divines. And we've got a few things left to sell. Nothing mega. We've just got a few essences left for sale. One thing I'm going to do with memory tiers, because I found one when I was running my maps, is as soon as I get them, I'm just going to run them scoured, get to the boss, get the fragment, sell the fragment. That's all I'm going to do. At this stage, I don't really want to build a strategy around it, and I don't want to juice them individually. It might be something we do later on, but at the moment, I need the money early on, so I'm just going to rush them to get the fragments. I may die because it isn't the best bosser in the world, but I think they're too good to ignore. I don't just want to do them when I level up. I want to do them every time I get access to them. So what I'll do is I'll go and run this, and then I'll come back and we'll go through the next strategy. Now, after running the memory strand, I realised how quick it is to farm a chain when you just boss rush. These are not things I've target farmed before this league, so again it fits the bill of something I've not done before, so we're going to make sure these form part of the next strategy. The boss keys that drop are worth 1 divine, 1.5 divines and 3 divines for the Echo of Reverence. There's also nodes on the tree where you can reduce the chance of certain memories, so in theory I should be able to make sure that I get the Incarnation of Dread memory thread the majority of the time. That's the one that drops the 3 divine key. If I was adding these into a strategy, it needed to be a quick strategy and preferably cheap, since I want to turn over a lot of maps quickly. What I settled on was farming scoured T16 strands with Delirium, scarab drops, map drops, and then increased memory thread chance. I decided to just use 1 scarab, which is a scarab of Mania. They're between 1 to 1.5 chaos each, so very, very cheap strategy that I could turn over really quickly. Map supply for me is not an issue. I've got about 100 Strand maps, as it's been my favourite for quite a while, and that's the other reason for picking this strategy, in that it keeps me having to spend money out of my profit. The strat will work on any map. I just prefer Strand because it's linear and fairly long, which means you tend to get more simulacrum splinters than on the smaller maps. I was hoping this strategy would be 10 divines plus per hour, as all the loot we are targeting is valuable. At the time I recorded the video, Delirium orbs were 10 for 1 divine, simulacrums were selling 2 for 1 divine, we'll get originator maps, they sell for 25 to 30 chaos each. Any memory thread we find is minimum of 1 divine, but for the most part it should be 3. Stack decks are fairly common in Delirium, and they currently sell 77 for 1 divine. And a T17 map that drops from Strand, which is Sanctuary, you can sell 2 of those for 1 divine. The way to play this strat is really just to run straight through the map, killing monsters on the way but not backtracking. I'll be ignoring all mercenaries and all other mechanics, other than maybe Sentinel, because it doesn't slow the strategy down. The idea is to get to 6 on the reward counter, then rush the boss, kill the boss, get to 7, end the Delirium and collect the loot. You can get to 7 and then 8, but you sometimes have to stay in the map for a little bit, and I just want to get through the maps as quickly as possible. These maps should be easily sub 2 minutes, so I should be able to turn around 30 maps per hour, even including stashing loot, putting new maps into the map device. We should easily be able to do 30 maps per hour. Now, there's plenty you can do with this Atlas tree. I kind of just wanted to get all the Scarab nodes I could, all the Delirium nodes I needed, and then the memory thread nodes. And then the reason for the blockers is to make sure I get to 100% chance to get Delirium, because I don't want to take these nodes here. I'd rather block content I don't want to see, and at the same time, get more chance to get Delirium. So if we go and quickly look in the sidebar for mirrors, we can see we've got 84% chance, but we have 8% chance naturally in a map, so that's 92. And then we've got 4 blockers, which takes it to 100. So I'm blocking Ritual, Legion, Expedition, and Abyss. You don't have to block any, you can just go here and take like 8% node here. So the important nodes are obviously Delirium nodes. So we got +1 on map completion. That's really important. That adds a lot of rewards. We've got more Simulacrum Splinters, more chance for Delirium Orbs to be available in rewards, and a small chance for Delirium Orbs to drop from enemies. We've got the one here to give it chance to generate more layers of rewards. This just gives you more Delirium Orbs when it procs. You've obviously got a chance to get Delirium in these small nodes here, and then we take chance to get Delirium here. They're the only Delirium nodes that we need. Outside of that, it's just taking map nodes, scarab nodes, and then the memory thread nodes. So we're blocking Neglect and we're blocking Fear to try and get more Dread, because they're the ones that are worth 3 divines. That's it for the Atlas tree. It's pretty simple. There's much more you could do with it if you wanted to add something else in, but you need to make sure it's quick and works in scoured maps. So there wasn't really an option for me other than maybe essences. You could stop and kill the odd one, but you're not going to generate much currency from it. So I'd rather just run the maps as quick as I can, forgetting about all lead mechanics, and rely on the loot at the end and the loot from the memory tiers to actually give us our profit. So what we'll do is just go and run a very quick map showcase, since we know it'll take under 2 minutes, just to show you the general sort of loot you're going to get from each map, which will be fairly small, maybe 50 chaos loot per map. But obviously you will get big returns from your memory strands, and you will get the odd good thing drop because of all the scarab nodes we're taking. So let's just go and do a very quick showcase so you can see it in action. So I'm rich, we've got our chaos drop. So I'm just going to make sure I kill enough mobs that we get to 6, which should be fairly easy to do. As I say, if you want to get to 7, you can be a bit more thorough about clearing packs, but it will make the strategy a little bit slower. And then obviously keep an eye out for your memory thread. Yep, so it's 6 already, so we don't really need to hang around it anymore. So straight to the boss. We've got an invitation, and then we just end the Delirium, and that's it. So that was a pretty decent map, that one. We got 3 Delirium Orbs. So we'll just quickly check the price of orbs just to make sure that they've not changed, but simulacrums are the same. They are 1 simulacrum for 2 divines. The reason for selling them for divines is it costs me 500 gold to sell 6 for divines. If I wanted to sell them for the equivalent in chaos, it's 14,400 gold. And this strategy does not accumulate a lot of gold at all. So you want to sell stuff for divines where you can. And if we just check something like an armor's Delirium orb for divines, they are 9 to 10 for 1 divine. So when you're pricing these up, never go with market ratio. Either go with the best competing trade, which in this case would be 9, or if you really want to sell them quickly, you could go up and say 10 for 1 divine. But here you should have no problem selling these 9 for 1 divine. So just from that map alone, if we say that these are like 20 to 25 chaos each, we've got a map here. We've got about 120 chaos, including the stat. That's probably more simulacrum, about 150 chaos from that one map. This was better than your average map, but overall you're going to make a ton, which we'll go through when we go over the profits next. So overall, I ran these maps non-stop for about 2 hours, only stopping when I came across memory threads. It's important you do these straight away, as if you have a current memory thread, you obviously can't discover another one, so you might be wasting an opportunity to get an immediate thread after your first one. I found 3 memory threads in 55 to 60 maps. 2 of these were for the Echo of Revenants, which is 3 divines each, and the third was for Echo of Trauma, so it was a total of 7 divines at the time. With the increased odds from the passive tree, you've got about 7% chance per map to find a memory thread, so on average it should be about every 15 maps that you find one. So I was slightly unlucky because I ran 60 maps and only found 3, so my RNG maybe could have been a bit better. I found 3 T17 maps, which are half a divine each, and 10 originator maps, which sell for around 25 chaos each. I had 6 full simulacrums, these sell for 2 for a divine. I found some large lightning and shield clusters, which sold for 15C and 45C respectively. I found a small mana reservation cluster, which sold for 25C, and a few other small items that I've still got up for sale. Because I completed 60 maps, I dropped 2 incandescent invitations, which are combined worth a divine. I'm going to keep them and run them myself later on, hoping to get maybe a forbidden jewel. I dropped 68 delirium orbs in total, fossils, scarabs, lots of other stuff. I did drop 2 big scarabs. I dropped an ultimatum scarab of catalyzing and a horned scarab of awakening, and I dropped 1 raw divine orb. Once I'd sold the scarabs that were worth selling, and I'd sold my fossils and everything else, anything worth less than 1 chaos in terms of scarabs I sold to a vendor. For anyone that doesn't know, if you sell 3 random scarabs to a vendor, they give you a random scarab back. This was worth it as I got about 150 chaos worth of scarabs in total. The main reason to do it was to tidy up my messy dump tab, so then I can move my loot to a quad tab rather than have to move all this junk stuff over. It was getting a little bit unmanageable. Now, after just selling the clusters, delirium orbs, simulacrums and boss keys, I had 21 raw divines of currency, which is pretty insane for 2 hours. After selling and valuing the rest of the loot, which was easy to liquidate, I'd estimate I made around 30 divines profit in those 2 hours. I was really happy with this, considering how easy and cheap this strategy is to run. Even if you had to bulk buy your Strand maps, it's still worth it. You'd lose 2 to 3 divines of profit, but you're still making 13 to 14 divines an hour. This strategy only works if you're in and out of the maps in less than 2 minutes. If you've got a character that's maybe slow or doesn't have a ton of DPS and it's taking you 4 minutes to get through the map, this isn't a strategy worth doing. It's all about being quick. If you do want to try this strategy, check prices of simulacrums, delirium orbs, and memory keys, as these are the majority of your income. I annoyingly died once to a corpse exploding rare who was hiding amongst the bosses in Strand. It was my fault, I wasn't paying attention, on autopilot, and then got obliterated. Now, there are downsides to the strategy. You're never going to sustain maps, so realistically, if you don't have a supply already, you're going to have to buy maps. And secondly, gold gains are really low because you're running the map scoured for safety and speed. You're not going to get a lot of quantity and rarity on the map, so you're not going to get a lot of gold. But overall, I think it was a really good strat, and one I'll definitely come back to later down the line if it remains profitable. Delirium orbs seem to just be going up in price, so do the keys, and so do the simulacrums. This may change if more people target farm them, but as with any strat, if loot starts to plummet in value, it probably means other mechanics have become more profitable as a result. So we'll just very quickly look at the stash tab before I close out the video. We have got 51 raw divines in my currency tab that's just set aside for this specific video series. We've got some exotic stuff that's not worth anything. And then on our dump tab, we've got some boss maps, got some T17s, got 3 Exarch invitations. I've been running my Polaric invitations in between maps just to see if I can get anything good. Nothing so far, just because they're not really worth selling on trade. These probably won't ever do anything with these because we're probably not going to get full ones. Even if we did, they're really not worth any currency. So actually what I think I'm going to do is get rid of these and put them into my actual stash tab. Then I don't have to worry about them. So now we're looking at just the map. So we got our memory maps that I'll probably sell. Boss invitations are going to run. Not sure what I'm doing with these yet. I'll probably just keep them until I've got enough bulk that they sell really easily. But overall, I would think 1.5 divines, 1.5 divines, a divine, and probably a divine. So you're looking at 5 divines on top of the 51. So we're already pretty much a quarter of the way to get a Mageblood. And we're, in terms of game time, mapping, probably about 4.5 hours. So pretty happy so far. However, these 2 strategies have worked pretty well. I'm expecting at some point in this series, I'll do one that isn't very good. So as long as I can get around an average of 10 divines an hour, I'm happy with that. That gets me Mageblood in around 23 to 24 hours of gameplay. I'm hoping it's much quicker than that. I'm hoping to get under 20, but I have no idea what strategies are going to come next. That's it for this video. If you're interested in the build I'm running, watch the first video. It goes through the gear, the merc, the POB. It's not something I'm going to revisit in the videos. If you do want me to try something specific, let me know in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next one.